Welcome to The Cutting Edge. My name is Julian Warbreck. I am part of the Edge Growth Solutions team, which is responsible for SME development. Today we are going to be chatting about South Africa's SME development landscape and specifically in the SMEs perspective. I'm joined today by Lerato Bopape.
Yes.
Did I pronounce that okay?
Yes.
From Concise Flow. And we're going to be chatting to her and just finding out a little bit of the SME's perspective as to how things have been running and how she's experienced it. So welcome, Lerato.
Thank you.
Happy to have you.
Thank you.
Are you feeling comfortable and ready to share your thoughts with us?
Yes, definitely.
Good. Okay, so let's maybe start. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself? How you became an SME? Just give us a little bit of background. That would be great.
Awesome. My name is Lerato Bopape. I am the founder and CEO of Concise Flow, a software development company. We do also a little bit of management consulting, but primarily software automation and dashboarding and all of the nice automation stuff. I started Concise Flow in 2018, on the second half of 2018, after I'd been working for this other company for 10 years.
Wow.
And after 10 years, I was at a crossroad because I was like, okay, do I go to another company? Do I go steal someone else's job? If I haven't learned anything in this past 10 years of helping run someone else's business, then I haven't learned anything. So the decision became very clear for me to start my own company.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's very brave. Just stepping out.
Yeah, stepping out. But for me, I didn't feel like it was too much of a risk because if not then when? I'm so glad I did. It's not been easy, but I think it's been the best decision for me to have taken at that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the security of not having a salary every month and having to fund all your work, how has that been?
Not easy. But I didn't just jump in. I think in a full year leading up to my tenure at the other company, I started, fantasizing about starting my own company. So I knew it wasn't going to be easy. So I started saving up, but also because I wasn't at that time particularly sure that I was going to start something. And if I were to start something, how long would it take, for it to ramp up? So I became way more conscious with spending. I saved every bit of cent that I could in a way that could at least sustain me for, at the bare minimum, a year. And I was able to do that because in my previous company, I had started as an intern. And by the time I left, I was like, one step short of being the CEO. So I was making good money. I was able to save. I don't have any kids. I don't, so I didn't have anyone relying on me. So I could put away as much as I could in preparation for the unknown. That did come in handy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you basically brought yourself to a point where you felt you had everything going for you and the time was right.
The time was right. I needed to just jump.
Okay.
But the confidence obviously of knowing that, okay, I have at least a full year to just figure it all out. But also the confidence was that in my previous job, I'd made quite a lot of good contacts and networks. I pride myself in my work. I knew that to a certain extent, if I were to approach anyone that I would have worked with in prior years, that they would be more willing to engage. So I had myself to bet on at that time. And I was confident in that because I go all in with work and I go above and beyond. I knew that was my selling point. And I had that pool of networks that I could tap into.
And you obviously had all the technical abilities, you had the experience, you had a good amount of experience behind you. What was it like when you now dived into, you seem to have done it quite gradually and set yourself up before you took the final leap.
Yeah.
How did you feel now having to rely on yourself for all these other the other skills and roles that you had to fulfill?
Yeah.
That was previously, I'm assuming, already by other people in the company that you worked for. Yeah. How did that transition happen? How did that feel, making that change?
I kick myself now because I thought to a large extent, I was naive. You could say that. I thought I had it all figured out. Because in the last 4 years in my the company that I worked for, I did quite a lot. So I'd grown up. I knew every nook and cranny and part of the business. So I was juggling all and everything. I was doing invoicing, business development, client management, project management, business analysis, testing, all of that. And I thought that I had it all figured out. And then I started my own company. Then there's SARS. Then there's managing employees. I managed employees, but as an employee, as a manager. But now you have to bring people on board, and it was just a whole different dynamics. And I struggled. I don't want to lie. I struggled from a team perspective. I'm a doer. I give me a task and I will, get it all done quick, efficiently, on time, and all of that. But I didn't have the experience of starting from scratch. When I started there, all the foundation was laid, and I just had to, swim, But here I had to start building from scratch, implementing. But one thing about myself is that I'm a problem solver. Yes, I went in naively, but is there any other way?
Maybe it's better. Maybe it's better not knowing everything, all the challenges, because then that may have deterred you from trying
Correct.
to take it on. But you didn't know all the things you're up against, so you went in, and once you were in, there was no turning back.
No.
All right. So we've heard a lot about you, and you've touched on your business. But now, can you tell us exactly what it is that you do? What is Concise? Who is Concise Flow?
Yes, who is Concise Flow? Concise Flow is a software development company. We automate systems. That's our bread and butter. That's our value add. We do a little bit of management consulting purely because it complements a lot of the system automation that we do. But primarily, we are a software development company. We develop custom software. So we don't have an off-the-shelf platform or tool that we go and resell to every client. We go to a client and say, tell us about your problem. What do you do on a daily basis? What's your biggest headache as it comes to you doing your day-to-day tasks? What is your strategy? What is your goal? We take that information, we hear the pain points, and then we automate a bespoke solution, automated solution that then solves the problem for our clients. So another thing that we do as part of, it comes standard with our custom solutioning is insights. We do quite intricate and fancy dashboarding as well, so that as you do all of that, at any point in time, your data can tell you a story. We integrate. If you've got an existing platform, for example, we're able to seamlessly integrate with any of your ERP systems and all of that. So we don't come there and say, replace everything. We say, okay, what do you have? What do you want to achieve? And how do we come in to make sure that, at the end of the day, you don't get a headache? For me, it's always important that we don't create extra work for our clients. When we come there to optimize.
Okay, so let's shift things a little bit. Can you tell me, well, first of all, have you received any support from the corporate world? And yeah, what support have you received, if you have?
Directly from the corporate world, nothing. Every project has been through, fair play, and that I suppose that's how what makes it even more sweeter, that you've got this because of merit. But from a small business development perspective, one of our clients approached their internal SME development department, which then they told their supplier to reach out to us. And through that, we were able to be part of the SME ESD program for about a year. That helped a lot.
So when you are saying you haven't received any direct support, you're saying you haven't received work. Is that what you're talking about?
No.
You haven't received work as a result of trying to help you? Is that what you were referring to?
No, we haven't received funding.
Okay.
Or anything that comes within, what you would term from a development for SMEs. Everything, the corporates have been quite supportive in terms of, meeting us halfway and taking us as we come, and not sort of like minimizing our worth in relation to this other big existing suppliers that they use. So it's been nice because it's been fair play. But from a small business development support perspective, we were part of a year-long program.
Okay.
Yes.
And what did that program involve?
The program primarily involved mentoring. So how it was positioned in the beginning, because I thought, you're going to give us money. They were like, no, we're not giving you money. We can help you build a website. And I'm like, no, we're software developers. We can do our own website. Which is another thing, because, we didn't have a website at the time, but it was more intentional on my part because I just wanted to be under the radar and just do my job. But yeah, they offered immense support right in the middle of COVID, when you need it most. I am so thankful because we had just been running for just a year, going barely into our second year, and then, COVID hit. We were partnered with a mentor who came in to understand our business, right? That's when I knew, okay, this is for good, because I didn't necessarily, I don't think I would have been open for someone to come and say, you need 1, 2, 3. They said, okay, they came in and said, what do you do? Okay, how are your operations? Who are your team? Who are your clients? How do you run things? Where are you struggling internally from a business perspective? Because from the outside, we were doing good. We were delivering, clients happy and all of that. But from a internal sustainability of our business, that's where they came in and they did that assessment, and they could immediately, as I would have, hoped for, because of their experience, they were able to pick up key areas that they can, immediately start immersing themselves in to help us stabilize and create that sustainable long-term foundation internally. Yeah.
And what would you say was the primary assistance that was provided? What benefit? What was the major benefit?
The major benefit was that we were immediately assigned a mentor.
Okay. Right?
So this was a person that I would engage with week in, week out, sometimes twice a week. And this was somewhat of an accountability partner, you could say, but also someone who, you could just bounce off ideas off of, and they can give a different perspective. Because coming from, an organization where you have a boss and, you do all of that, but now I started my company just by myself. I don't have a partner. I don't, it's all 100% me. That's how much I believe in myself.
You've got no one to complain to. You can't complain to your employees.
No one
it's
to
all on you.
complain to. I've got no one to show me where I'm going downhill, right? And you need that. You seriously need that. So the mentor essentially for that year became, my partner in crime. Any stumbling block, I promise you, she had a way on how we can tackle it. I felt supported. I felt confident. For the first time, I felt, okay, I don't have to struggle. I can actually get the support that I need. So we had, so the program was quite, interactive to how COVID would allow it. So we had like boot camps every second month or so. And what I mean by boot camp is that it will be like a half-a-day session, online session, where they bring in experts. So today they'll bring in an expert talking in relation to or helping us understand and grasp the concept of contracting, right? So with these little companies, yet we want to do business with these companies, sometimes, we can, get messed up from a contractual perspective. So setting us up for success in that aspect. Then the next bootcamp is from a business development perspective. An expert in that field comes in, and tells us the nitty-gritties and the important stuff on how to go find those clients. How do you maintain a relationship with those clients? A lot of these things are new, but because when you do a company, there's just so much, a lot of it just goes out of the window. But then it was an opportunity for someone to come in and sort of like, this is the most important stuff.
Right, so you said that you got the support when you were an established business. You had already been going for a few years. How do you feel? Do you feel that timing was right, that the support came along at the right point? Or would it have been better when you were starting out? Or do you feel that could have been good in both times?
I think for me, and I'm going to speak for myself, I feel like the support came in at the right time. Because I feel like if someone had helped me right from the beginning, I wouldn't have perhaps respected that hustle, that grind, that getting something off the ground despite, everything looking like it's all against you, though it's not, but you feel like that in that moment. And then the support comes in once you sort of like know what you want, know what you're doing, know what's your value proposition, what solution are you trying to provide out there, what problem are you trying to solve, right? And you've sort of like proven or created some proof of concept that yes, it can work, and I can give you at least an audited financial statement to prove that. You can see that for at least 1 year we were able to establish this, right? But now for me to get from one level to the next, this is the help that I need, right? And someone can then come in, and I feel like if help comes in too early, it sort of like sways your initial intent of what it is that you're trying to establish and build. You need to be in solitude with, if it's you and a partner starting, that time for me, I find it critical to stumble and fall to get it right. So for me, with the support that came, I knew what I want. I thought at some point they were like, no, this one is too much trouble. She must go. But they were like, we are here to help. What's okay? This is not working. What do you want, right? Because because I feel like the approach is sometimes a one size fits all kind of an approach, and then they get someone like me who knows what they want. And I'm like, okay, can we substitute that for that? I don't know if you've done it, but this is what I want. This one I've got, and they were able to do that. For me,
so was that your perception as to what SME support looked like? It was the solution is coming to you and you've got to get on board with what they're telling you to do. Was that your initial perception?
I think if you don't know what you want, you would think that is the perception. Unless you say, okay, but I already have that sorted. Can you give me that? Speak up, and not just accept whatever it is that comes, even though you don't need it. Hence why it's very important in that first year, in that first year and a half, in that first 2 years, that you are building and refining and rectifying for yourself, for your business, before external influences come in. Because now when the support does come, you know where that support needs to be channeled, right? And you can customize whatever they're giving to your business. The solutioning or the offering of the support obviously is going to be packaged in that aspect, right? Whereas
You mean as in unique and tailored towards the different businesses? Is that what you were referring to? Okay.
So for example, the first few boot camps, right? There would be, for example, they'll bring in someone to talk around how do you put systems in your business. But you need to know what you want.
Okay.
In order to get the full value.
So how did you deal with that? How did you deal with...
I spoke up. I wasn't there to waste anyone's time. I wasn't there to waste my time. I'm trying to build something. So I approached my mentor, I approached the service provider, and I said, listen, let me tell you what I need. I don't need that. This is what I need. And they were able to meet me halfway. But I feel I benefited the most. I said, I came twice. I said, I need to thank you because I don't think you understand how much of a benefit I got from here. For me, I needed a personal coach. Yes, I had a mentor, and I needed to separate the two. Because they were like, no, you've got a mentor. And I'm like, let me tell you, I need someone to hold me accountable from a business side perspective, from a cash flow management perspective. I want someone to objectively review how I run this, finance side of the business, this team side of the business. And my mentor was able to do that. So I was like, I need to work with 2 people. And these 2 people must be independent. I need someone to hold me objectively accountable here, but I need someone to guide and lead me and coach me from a leadership perspective. I've been in a leadership role before, but not to this extent where it's your company. It's everything is on you.
Can I maybe ask you there? Do you feel like, if we look at the broader landscape, do you feel that this is representative? Your experience is representative of what the broader landscape is for SMEs, the development and support that's out there?
I don't know.
What is your perception? What do you think? Earlier we spoke about, is this going to be a tick box? We didn't exactly use those words, but is this going to be something they're expecting me to just take and do, and we're just going to have to get it done? How do you perceive it? What do you think?
Well, I don't know if this is the perspectives of others who have gone through similar programs. But what I do know is when you know what you want and something is presented to you, you know how to make it work, right? I'm saying I don't know, but if I were to be honest, I don't think because a lot of the entrepreneurs are ready for that support, that they know how to use it, that it works for them. Especially because it has to come pre-packaged, right? Because also they don't know the magnitude. And then from there on, the opportunity is there to customize. But for this SME, ESD suppliers, they also need to be open and understand that each one of us are at different stages. So exactly with my cohort, someone had been running for 6 years, someone for 3 years. I think I was the one, still in the second year, but the rest were, had been running there.
Further down the road on the
Further
journey.
down the road, who's been running an organization or an enterprise for 6 years and they don't know how to do your cash flow. For me, I would think, okay, the fundamentals perhaps are not there, and then you start there, right? And then so assess us. There is some level of assessment, but I think they're getting deeper into that assessment so that when you start, you know that this cohort is at this level, that is at that level, right? And from there, you can sort of like deduce and understand what of assistance is going to make any sort of value to these different various cohorts.
And then if we maybe look at the corporates, let's look at something you spoke about a little bit earlier, in that you said it was a fair playing field, that corporates looked at you and said, okay, this is an SME that has potential, and let's maybe they've got potential and they've got capability. Let's maybe give them an opportunity that may have been swallowed by a big corporate who does these sort of things. Has your experience in that side been okay? What's the fight been like to get work?
Such a fight. It's been and I don't want to seem ungrateful or anything, because I'm not. But it's been tough to get anything. Or at least in my experience, they haven't looked at Concise Flow to say, shame, little Concise, let's give them that project. In fact, they're like, no, give that, because we don't go and sell like, cupcakes. The organization in itself, in their defense, they need to understand that, is this company going to deliver? Because this is part of our strategic intent of, our KPIs that we need to deliver by this financial year end. They don't have the luxury to also entertain, the debate on whether or not we're going to deliver. I had my value proposition, and I'm happy to say from when I started, I haven't deviated from that. I'm singing the same tune. But the pressure of not being able to understand, okay, within this time frame, this is where you want to be. Within this time frame, this is where you want Concise Flow to be. That clarity, having the clarity, just makes the business side of things, if you don't have the clarity, just too much chaos.
So then in terms of it, I think a big component of support, it can be argued, is that corporates need to be cognizant of giving SMEs work so that they can develop and they can stimulate cash flows, stimulate revenues.
Yeah.
Do you think on that side, maybe, do you think there's enough sort of support? And I hear what you're saying, that it shouldn't be, especially in your case, it can't just be, we'll just do this for, goodwill.
Yeah.
Do you think there should be more of it? Is it a strength? Is it something that needs to be looked at in the landscape?
I think the first place to start, especially, when they know you through your reputation, of how good of a person you are, like I said, it's not easy to just say, we know Lerato, she can deliver, whether through the previous company or that other company, right? But for me, the biggest thing is for corporate to start decoupling the person and the organization, right? When I go there as Concise Flow with a team, right? It almost seems a bit unfair when they assess you based on your individuality, good or bad, because now it makes the whole process even harder. That give Concise Flow a chance. Take me out of the picture, because the intent is not me to deliver this project.
You're not doing all the work alone.
I'm not doing all the work alone. I may have started like that because, yes, but right now it's Concise Flow. But because you start just by yourself, it becomes difficult to de-associate you and the organization. Assess me on what Concise Flow is able to achieve, not on who Lerato is. At some point, the shift needs to happen, especially when we've delivered project 1 successfully, project 2 successfully, project 3, right. And then on project 4, we're still debating.
And have you had a case where you've gone to a corporate who doesn't know you as Lerato? They know Concise Flow. Have you had that interaction? Have you been able to have that comparison?
No,
You haven't yet?
No.
Okay.
To date.
Your reputation has preceded you.
However, in one of the organizations, there was a key client, because in an organization we can do systems in HR, we can do systems in business, we can do systems in procurement and all of that. Hence why we're quite custom. So
Nice.
a system for us is a system. So there was a particular client in another department who I met for the first time, and I can tell you the interaction is so much different, because that person I've never had an interaction with in any prior life. She has just heard that, there's a company called Concise Flow that delivered 1, 2, and 3. When I approached her, she had already in fact, she had used one of our systems that they had just finished a process, and she was very impressed with, how it looks recent, it looks, it's seamless, it's not the legacy-looking systems, so she was still coming out of a high of using one of our solutions. So when I approached her, in fact, I think for the first couple of months, she didn't know that I owned Concise Flow.
So it seems also that relationships are quite important in the work that you're doing.
Very much so.
Do you think SME development should focus more on that? And did your program help with any of that? The program that you were on, the support that you got?
Yeah. And the support definitely, especially from my mentor's side, because I placed so much emphasis on the relationship, the client relationship, which is good. You need to have that, because you need to be the one of the first few people that comes in your client's mind when there's a problem to solve. That is important. But through the mentorship, I was opened up to the fact that at the end of the day, you have a business to run. You know you've delivered. You know you've done this. They can't pinpoint anything, and in fact, you're doing Concise Flow a disservice by not, negotiating a little bit better, because I would just take whatever they gave me. I would, even though I believed that no, but this is what I've put.
Your worth. This is what you. Yeah.
And they come back with almost half, and I'm like, oh yeah, of course I'll do it. And it shows, because they're able to pull us in time and time and again. But the relationship also is important, because if I don't get along with you, how much of a good of a system I sell to you, you wouldn't want to work with me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So we've touched on, I think, a bit of the strengths and the weaknesses there. But if we take a step back, what do you think are, how could the support to SMEs be improved? And let's look at the broad landscape, not just just a program, or I mean, we haven't even spoken about funding.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Would benefit SMEs from a corporate or from the
Yeah. First, I think from us as entrepreneurs to almost get away from this belief that support means funding. Support comes in many various forms. Funding, yes, it's important, but the reality is you need to have started something in order for the next person, be it a person or organization, to want to invest any resources they have. You need to have at least gotten started, do something, whatever it is. And then from an organization perspective, we appreciate the support. Just understand the entrepreneurs that you want to help a little bit better, and understand that the entrepreneur journey is a very varied one. It's a long one. It's a very, although there are common threads, it's also quite unique in many instances. Put in a little bit of just one thing extra to understand that if I'm doing this, I can't preempt what it is that I feel they want. Understand what it is that they want, and be okay to deviate halfway through in order to fulfill the purpose of what it is that we're trying to get out or achieve.
Okay, so do you feel that there can be too much support and too much intervention into an SME's business?
Yes, absolutely. And I had to be conscious about that, because then you start being reliant. You can't think for yourself now. You have to double check with your mentor or your coach about everything. And, when it's time to go, they go, but you can't implement. So that's when okay, I've sort of like been absorbed in the cry for help that everything else needs to be. So I think intervention is key at certain points, but not all the way through, because you also need to, the interventions are there to enable you to stand on your own, but they can't be forever. So too much of it, yes, be conscious about that and be mindful that it doesn't come to that point.
I was hoping to ask you maybe a bigger question. It's maybe a difficult one to answer, but if you could just wave a magic wand and have it your way, how do you think support could look like in the general landscape? What would it look like, and what sort of things do we need to do to get it there? Do you have any thoughts about it? I don't know, that's quite a sweeping question.
Yeah. I do. I don't know if maybe it's perhaps maybe too much, but I think from an entrepreneurial perspective, from an SME perspective, there's key pockets, right, that you need in order to set a foundation that sets you up for success. There's the financial aspect of it, and when I say financial, dive a little bit deeper in it, from a sales or business development, from a cash flow management, invoicing management, compliance with the SARSs and all of that. There's that aspect, right? And then there's the operational side of it, which then differs. So this becomes constant or similar across various industries. And then there's the core business side of things, right? From your operations, your processes, your systems, your all of that. I think the support that is required, and then there's the team, the how you structure your team, your succession management and your talent retention strategies, which as a small organization you don't even think that far. But from a corporate who wants to help, have that picture and landscape in mind, right? And say, okay, our program touches on either these or across all of these. And when you go and engage with the SMEs, you then assess where are they across all of these, and that's where you sort of like streamline or channel the support in that direction, because these are the 5 key pillars in any new organization's lifespan that is critical for survival. You zoom in on that, right? And then you assess from those key pillars, what does each of the organizations have, where they are lacking, where it could be improved. The support is channeled there, rather than just bringing a support that is at a high level and too broad. It's going to become difficult to get the benefit of the program. Okay. That's how I think.
Fantastic, thank you. Lerato, I think that's maybe where we're going to end it.
Awesome.
It's been amazing chatting to you.
It's been great.
Lovely hearing about your business. You're a very dynamic entrepreneur. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Welcome. Thanks so much for listening. And please subscribe on whatever platform you are listening to or watching this on. And if you can, please leave a comment.
Follow our podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, where we will be releasing a new episode every 2 weeks. Or subscribe to the Edge Growth YouTube channel to catch the conversation.